Thank you. Thank you for asking me to come here today. I actually really appreciate the opportunity. I'm here for two reasons. One is I started an organization that I wanted to tell you about that I believe is something that anybody can do to empower themselves, that people can do things. And the second is that I found out, well, World AIDS Day was 2 days ago. And for me, basically, World AIDS Day is every day. Start in August of 1993, I found out that I was HIV positive and actually had full-blown AIDS. And at the time, they said that I had 10 days to live and that I should make my final arrangements. And that made me really angry because I wasn't ready to go anywhere. I had my own personal plan of action and I was successful in my career and I didn't plan on dying, so I got annoyed with everyone who told me that I was going to die. And so I survived the 10 days in the hospital with PCP and then went on to get prognoses that I would live 3 to 6 months, and that went on for a good 2 to 2.5 years where they kept saying, don't make long-term plans. So everything I did was based on what I would do next week or what I would do in 2 weeks, but I wouldn't dare book a vacation for a month from, a year from now or 6 months from now. And that was 1993, and in 1994, I was forced to retire. I was working for Hyatt Hotels, I was the director of sales and marketing, and I was too weak and too sick to be productive. So I dropped down to 135 pounds, and the idea of eating completely repulsed me, where right now I can eat that entire buffet by myself. And so as the years progressed, new drugs came out, and originally when I first was diagnosed, basically you had AZT. And AZT was the only drug that was really out there, and it kept people alive longer, but it also poisoned people and got them sicker in other ways. So your life you got to expand the amount of time you were on earth, but you didn't necessarily have a quality of life during the period. So I spent probably 2 years pretty much in the house watching TV and not doing a lot. And then around 1995, they came out with protease inhibitors and some other drugs, and miraculously things started to get better. I held on long enough that I made it through the worst of it, where I saw so many other people that I know personally die and become basically mere essences of what their former selves were. So I was really fortunate. During that same time, I had a really good doctor, and she insisted that me doing nothing as a type A personality was only making it worse. So I started to volunteer, and I volunteered at Deering Hospital down here in South Miami on the Institutional Review Board, and they were testing for all kinds of new drugs and treatments that were coming out, and then I also started volunteering for, at the time, it was called CRI, Comprehensive Research Initiative, which is now Care Resource. And I continued to volunteer in 93, 94, and 95. When I wasn't at home laying in bed, I was forced to do some of those things. And then in 1996, my former partner heard about a bicycle ride that was going to go from Orlando to Miami. And it was going to raise money and awareness for HIV and AIDS. And that year they had about 1,200 bicyclists. And they rode the distance for over 3 days, and they raised $1 million. Which was really impressive until I learned that of the $1 million, only $10,000 went to each one of the agencies, and there were 6 benefiting agencies. So they raised $1 million, and they gave away $60,000. The rest of it went to administration. It went to pay people's salaries, it went for signage, it went for food, it went for all kinds of things to produce the event, but it didn't actually go to where I believed it needed to go, and that was to help people at the height of a pandemic where we had all of our friends dying in droves and didn't have access to medication and all of that, and I felt that we as individuals were trying to save our friends and our family, but we weren't able to do that despite how much money we were raising, because these organizations that were producing the events with the best of intentions weren't returning money. So I started volunteering for them in 96 and then 97, and the organization changed hands and the benefiting agencies took it over and they hired another marketing company, and that survived till 2001. And in 2001 they had gone from 1,200 bicyclists to 72 bicyclists, and they actually lost money on the last event. And that made me even angrier that there was a sense of complacency, that people believed that you still couldn't catch the disease, and that people were angry that their money still wasn't really getting to benefit people. So in 2001, I spoke at the closing ceremonies of their very last ride, and I challenged everyone, and I said that we as individuals, and I was in my early 30s at the time, could make a difference. and we could change the world in our own small way. We can't fix everything for everybody, but if you can help one person, you know, that one person is worth all the time and effort you put into it. So in 2003, I started what is now the SMART Ride, which stands for the Southernmost AIDS HIV Ride. It's a 2-day bicycle ride. It goes from Miami to Key West. Our very first year, we had 169 bicyclists. We raised $170,000 and we gave away 100% of it. My goal when I took over or decided to do this bicycle ride was that I would only do it if we gave back 100% of everything that people raised. I would only do it if the individuals who raised the money were able to designate where their funds would go. So if you lived here in Miami and Pride Lines Youth Services is one of our beneficiaries and you raised money, you can designate half of your money to that agency. If you were impressed with an agency that deals with children in Orlando, you can designate half your money to the children in Orlando. You can do whatever you wanted with the portion of that money. The first half of the money, just to backtrack, let's just say you raised $1,000. Half the money gets evenly divided amongst our benefiting agencies, and we have 7 of them. The second half of your money, you distribute to those agencies as you see fit. So it gives you a little bit of control over how your money is returned to the community and helps people in your own backyard. So that first year was in 2003, and we raised, like I said, $169,000, $170,000 and gave it all away. And that was going to be it for me. I was fine with that. I had proved my point that people can make a difference, that we could change the world and we could give back 100% of everything that was raised. Unbeknownst to me, the people that were helping me decided that this was way too much fun and they wanted to do it again. So in 2004, we did it again for the last time, and we raised $269,000 and gave it all away. And I was done. And then everyone said, you can't stop. So the third year happened. And so this year we just celebrated our 10th anniversary, a full decade of doing it. We raised, 2 weeks ago was the event, we raised $1 million. And we're going to give away $1 million. We're not keeping any of it for any production. The event is completely paid for by sponsors, by the kindness of the community. We have organizations like Red Lobster that come down and make lunch for everybody. We have California Pizza Kitchen that comes down and they make lunch for everybody. We have Olive Garden come down and they feed everybody dinner one night. So right now, this year, we had 750 people involved in the event. And we're going to give away, so far, since 2003, we've given away $5.2 million. So, for me, that says a lot about what we can do as individuals. And there's a quote from Margaret Mead, which is on the little card that you have, and it says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I truly believe that. That's been my mantra, if you will, or my calling card for the last 10 years, that we as individuals can really make some whatever the word is, we can make change, and we can make things happen. And if we really believe in something, you know, we can defy what doctors tell you, or what experts say, or what marketing companies tell you, and you can make a difference, and you can encourage or motivate people to do things that they maybe thought weren't possible. One of the nice things about the bike ride is that it not only gives back money to help with services, and our money is directed towards direct services, so it goes towards testing, it goes towards education, it goes towards prevention, it goes towards doctor's visits, psychosocial services, it goes to anything that helps a person live a stronger, healthier life. And part of that money goes for things like, in Key West, a lot of their money goes for housing. But one of the big things that it does is there was a gentleman that for about 15 years made sure that anyone who was HIV positive in the Keys who wanted to have Thanksgiving had a full Thanksgiving at their home. And so he funded that program, and it was only about $15,000 a year, but it gives people dignity. It's a lot nicer to invite your friends over for Thanksgiving than it is to go to a soup kitchen and have dinner there because you can't afford to do it on your own. And so that gentleman passed away, and when he passed away, the funding for that went away. And so the money that our organization gives to Key West, they take out of the $100,000 that they got last year, they take $15,000 of it and they make sure that everyone who's HIV positive in the Keys gets a Thanksgiving dinner. To me, that's very powerful. It's just as strong as taking medication, because if somebody has self-esteem and somebody has dignity, it's a lot easier to survive. If somebody has a home over their head, which a lot of our money goes to housing, that gives somebody the ability to take their drugs on time, because they don't worry about where they're going to sleep. They have more of a routine, and when you have a better routine, you can take the medications that the doctors give you, and you can keep your viral load under control, and you can reduce the spread of HIV and AIDS. So, what's unique about our event, a couple of things. Like I said, we give back 100%. You get to control the distribution of some of the funds that you raise, and then the event is fully supported. So if you're on our ride, we do everything for you. We house you overnight in the Middle Keys. Most bicycle rides put you in tents in the heat in Florida, which I don't like. So I'm spoiled, and we stay actually in a hotel, which costs me less money than if I put everybody in tents. We feed everybody, we house them, and then the ride is fully supported. So we have sweep vehicles and SAG vehicles and rider transport vehicles. We have a medical team that travels with us. We have volunteers that carry water and deliver ice. We have people that run gear trucks, and then we have motorcycle escorts. We have a full medical team that travels with us. We've become a moving city over the 2 days, and it's amazing to see people come together for one cause, and it's amazing to see the diversity of the people that are on the event. We have people that are 18 years old, and we have people, our oldest rider is 82. And it's amazing when you ask them why they ride or why they participate. And some of them are riding because it gives them a sense of power over the disease because they are HIV positive. Some of them, it gives them an ability to be around other people that are like them, and they can talk honestly about the fact that they're HIV positive or that they have AIDS. It also, there are people on the ride that are grandmas and grandfathers. There's a couple that beat a drum every year. They come out and they ride for their grandchild. There are people that ride for partners that they lost, and then there are parents that are there because they lost a child to the disease. And then it just allows all these people to come together once a year as a family and share that experience and empower them to feel that they're making a difference and they're helping other people not end up in the same position. So those are some of the things that make the Smart Ride really, truly unique. We benefit 7 organizations in the state of Florida. In Key West, it's AIDS Helping. In Miami, it's Pride Lines Youth Services. In Broward County, it's the Pride Center, which does a lot of testing. It's Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center, which has a program called Comprehensive Family AIDS Program. And Children's Diagnostic and Treatment Center is a huge organization, but the Comprehensive Family AIDS Program is traditionally always underfunded. It's sort of that baby nobody wants to talk about. And last year, they received for the first time from us $140,000. And some of that money went to things that most of us take for granted. They had a mom who's HIV positive, who was incarcerated, and the father was in a position to have to take the 3 children. And he didn't have a safe place to put them. He was going to put the baby in the same bed with him, and one of the biggest causes of death of children in bed with their parents is that they roll over and they smother them. And as silly as that sounds, it's a real life problem with people doing that. So some of the money that we gave to that organization went to make sure that there was a safe place for this family to be, and a crib for the child to sleep in, and the right food and medication for them to take. So that's Children's Diagnostic. And then as we go through the rest of the state, we give money to CAP in West Palm Beach, which is Comprehensive AIDS Program. We give money to an organization in Orlando called Miracle of Love, which is just an incredible little organization that makes a big impact in the community. And then we give money to Metro Wellness and Community Centers, which is in the Tampa-St. Pete area. And all those organizations will share this year close to $1 million of the money that we raise and keep programs alive and running. One of the things that I did last year was we were raising all this money and giving it away, but I still feel like there's a great need in our communities with other organizations that need funding. And we can't, the way we were set up, couldn't give additional money away. So someone would come to me and they've got a $5,000 need for a testing program. And there's no money in the way we were set up to do that. We give everything away right away. So last year we created what we call the 10% Lifeline. And that's a program where 10% of all the money we raise, we hold aside. So last year we raised $880,000. And we kept $88,000 aside, and other organizations around the state can request grants from us so that they can keep other programs going. This year, like I said, our event was 2 weeks ago. It was our 10th anniversary, and we were challenged to raise $1 million. And I thought that was going to be really hard to do for a lot of reasons, but I just thought that was really hard to do. And so about 2 weeks ago, we had our event. We rode from Miami to Key West. It was a really windy weekend and very overcast, and we raised $1,047,514 exactly. So this year, 10% of that, $104,000 will go into this fund for the 10% Lifeline. It'll be given away at 100%, but it'll allow us to have other organizations around the state come to us that need funding, and they need funding for small programs. They need $20,000 for something, or $10,000 for something, or just $5,000 for a program, and we quarterly review that and then give out additional money by doing that. Our organization, it's a great business model that works for me. It's not a business model I necessarily tell other people to follow. It's hard to run an organization and give everything away and still be able to produce an event. Because there are real life expenses that come with producing the event, from things like insurance and food and water and signage and all those kinds of things that go into producing a speaker, and a microphone and a podium. Everything costs money. So we've been really fortunate that because I believe we're doing the right thing, people have been very generous, and when we go to them and we ask them for things, they generally give them to us without question. And so we've been able to do what others can't do and give away 100%. And part of that is we don't have anyone full-time, which means that there are limitations to what we can do as far as an event. We're right now at about 450 riders and 280 volunteers that produce this event over the course of 2 days, but we can't keep growing it. There is a point where we have to say we can't get larger because we can't afford to produce it on just volunteers. We can't afford to house everyone overnight when you get to a certain level, because that housing for close to 750 people is about $58,000 for one evening. And it reaches a point where you say, we can't do that. No one's going to give me that kind of money to house 1,000 people or 2,000 people overnight. But we've done amazing things with 450 riders and over 200 volunteers, so I'm pretty proud of that. I think one of the things it did for me as an individual, going back to the fact that I was diagnosed and told that I had 10 days to live, is that it gave me a sense of purpose. And I think that no matter what you choose to do in life, you need to do something that gives you a sense of purpose or a sense of meaning or a sense of fulfillment, and know that you can, that doing that, you benefit yourself, you live a healthier life. I think that had I not found this purpose, I don't know how healthy I would be at this point. Because I think that one of the reasons that I've remained healthy for the last 20 years since being diagnosed is that I have people around me that care about me. I am completely open and honest about the fact that I'm HIV positive, or that I have AIDS by the legal definition. But having this bicycle ride not only helps other people, but selfishly it actually helped me get to be able to say 2 decades later that I'm pretty strong and healthy, and I can continue to give back. And I attribute that to the people that you surround yourself with, and the fact that I definitely have a purpose in life. I would say that for each of you, I would challenge you to do something throughout the year that's maybe outside your comfort zone, or that does something for other people, whether it's feed people at a food bank on Christmas, or hand out condoms in front of a local bar, or help educate people about HIV and AIDS. Because one of the big things, especially in your community, is that most of you did not live through the height of the pandemic in the late 80s and early 90s, where people died in horrific ways. They didn't look anything like they had. You know, you go visit somebody who was strong and they weighed 200 pounds, and you see them at 130 pounds, and it's a scary thing to see. And right now, most people don't see the death that we saw in the late 80s and early 90s. People die a little bit more quietly, but they still die. This year, our organization, 2 of our riders passed away, and that really made me angry, and it really upset me that in this day and age, and especially in Miami-Dade, Broward County, where it's the epicenter of new infections, that people are not getting the services that they need because they're available. And these 2 people rode in my event. They fundraised for years for it. It just boggled my mind that they didn't reach out for services because they passed because they weren't taking their medications, because they didn't have access to it. And that's just crazy. I mean, we didn't raise all this money so that one of our own, if you will, that participates in our event doesn't get the services they need. So I would encourage you that if there's something that you can do to educate others about HIV and AIDS and keeping it from spreading further, that's like the hugest gift that you could do for anybody. I actually have a little video, which I don't know, it's from our event. Like I said, our event was 2 weeks ago, so I'm still coming off of that high. I really haven't realized how much we've really absorbed, how much we raised in the last 10 years, but there's some of the riders that were on our event did a little video for the event as sort of a recap, and I think it'll kind of give you a little bit of the energy that our ride does. And I would encourage any of you next year, if you wanted to participate. It's 165 miles on a bicycle, but if you look at it as 5 20-mile rides in day 1 and 3 20-mile rides in day 2, it's not as overpowering. And we have, like I said, 280 volunteers, so there's lots of ways to get involved. You can carry water, you can deliver ice, you can drive a truck for us. You can hang banners. We have one team that does nothing but ceremonies. And we have tons of ceremonies, because I'm gay and I love ceremonies and fluff and pomp and circumstance. So take a look at this, and I appreciate your time.